All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having yourselves a fantastic start to your Monday morning here. And yeah, welcome back to what should hopefully be a relatively interesting trading week. Maybe we're in store for a little bit of volatility. That's the what we got the fingers crossed for here today. And yeah, optimistic that we should have some interesting price action here. Generally, the week post FOMC is like a little bit of a smoother situation. Um, we should also be kind of clearing through a few of those kind of, we'll call them like earnings hurdles, right? We're kind of getting through that batch here. So certainly seems like we should have a little bit of a cleaner calendar. And then now it's just about seeing which direction price action wants to settle. If we're actually going to turn this sort of reasonable breakdown here or this like separation from consolidation into a longer term thesis or a longer term narrative, or if we're going to be viewing that as capitulation. Only time will tell in the short term. Not really too bothered which direction it actually ends up happening, but let's just see where momentum becomes consistent, where we see enthusiasm show up, and then hopefully, right, we can go from there and take advantage of just whatever the market is giving us. From an economic calendar perspective, right? It's gonna be tomorrow, probably a little bit more of the interesting session. Everything looks fine besides that. So nothing too crazy there. And then yeah, really just the big, I guess, big concern is just making sure that this Friday candle, right, wasn't just like a capitulation bar. So we've seen those big Friday sell-offs here already so far this year a couple times. Wouldn't be particularly surprising, right, if it happened again. And yeah, we want to be a little bit a little bit patient. Oftentimes when you kind of get these like grinding markets higher, you do get that like blow off type capitulation scenario, and it could feel like it's setting up a little bit like that here. Now, it's not enough information for me to say that I should have a bullish bias here today. I think I still need to maintain basically a bearish only kind of perspective at least until I see yesterday's right, or I should say Friday's momentum getting validated. For now, I don't really have any evidence that that's the case. At best, right, maybe I've got a bit of evidence that we're setting up for like a day of consolidation, but I don't particularly have much conviction that bulls are still here in control. So we're going to continue to look for bearish only setups here today. The pre-market conditions, right, within that context are a 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. So what that is indicating for me, regardless, right, is that we have trending PA because we've also separated away from some of these channels, away from that all-time highs, and we've seen a pretty nice looking rejection. Then I think it's reasonable to suggest that bears are in control here in the short term. And I'm going to look for a consistent narrative through those ranges instead of being hyper aggressive. Now, so far, we're already at 6,300, right, which was Friday's starting point, right? And it's a decent pullback here to about the implied middle of yesterday's range. So, probably a good expectation of just this being a day of consolidation. We've got to move, 1% lower to get a breakout. We've got to move 1.5% higher, right, to get a breakout. So, it's a lot of work, right, from the index level here today. So it might just be a little bit of a more cautious start to the week as we look to basically digest that move. And then if we do get a consistent narrative, right, easiest story for us here today is a rejection inside yesterday's range for a breakdown towards sort of the low of that range. So I'm not going to be quite looking at 6,300 here as my starting point. Probably going to be looking at like a 6,280, right? Kind of just like split that difference a little bit. And then 6,240, right, is our low of day. From there, maybe you could go down towards 6,200, but I would be surprised if we get a move of that size here today. But let's see. Everything's sounding okay here this morning. No issues. Should be okay, right? All right, beautiful. Okay. And Q, how do we feel? Similar, not so similar? What do we think? Right, same thing. So 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume and bullish NA. We're targeting 22.7, called 22.8. A little bit more of a reasonable first target. And then to the downside here, 22.4. Maybe we can go down to 22. Yeah, and like I'd be surprised if we get 800 points of follow through here today. I'd be stoked, but I would be quite surprised. All right. Okay, CL, nice old 3 for 3 here to the downside. Continues to love this little pseudo range. So we're kind of a bit restricted here today, right? We pretty much have to be bearish across the board, which is a little bit of a tough one. We're looking, what, 65.50 here. And then I guess the big concern, I guess, as well is we got to be just aware of that 5% limit here on crude. Which is approximately 63.50, we'll call it. We don't have that much space on CL here this morning. And with futures, there's a couple mechanics, right, we have to be aware of sometimes when there's big sell-offs. So prop firms will have their own like trading restrictions, right? If a name is down 5%, Top Step, for example, will limit trading on it, which is totally reasonable that happens. There's a bunch of like limit down prices as well. So if we get down to, I think it's 7% or 7.5%, and the selling hasn't stopped, then the market will halt for a few minutes, reset, and go again. You don't want to be caught in a halt, right? It's a terrible place to be. So hopefully we can get a trade and avoid those types of conditions. But we have to be a little bit aware of those limits here this morning. All right, Apple, huge sell-off. Huge red candle, increasing outlier volume, gap up. I mean, call it still big earnings. Tesla, red candle, increasing volume, gapping up. I'm going to call this a 2 out of 3 to the upside with volume. We'll call that a weak one. We'll call that weak for two reasons. One, volume is a lot less, right, than what we're seeing on the indexes. Right, we're not seeing that increasing outlier by a moonshot. We're kind of seeing like a relatively controlled pullback there on Tesla, and then we're gapping up above, right, its previous high. We're kind of invalidating all of that selling pressure here at the open. So we're getting the same gap up, but not with the same volume fears that's associated maybe with some of our other individual tickers. Okay, Microsoft, red candle, decreasing volume, gap up. So call this a 1 for 3 here to the downside. Amazon, 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. Okay. Nvidia, Doji, decreasing volume, gap up. So 1 for 3. AMD, green candle, increasing outlier volume, gap up, 3 for 3 to the upside, going into earnings on what appears to be Tuesday. Okay, Meta, red candle, decreasing volume, gap up. So again, 1 for 3. Netflix, red candle, increasing, touching outlier, gap up. So we'll call this a 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. Okay, and then Google, 189.13 here. Weak green candle, decreasing volume, gap up. So we'll call that a weak 2 out of 3 with volume. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Tesla with that volume. And then VIX 18.89. So implied volatility of like, we'll call it 1.15, 1.2%, right? In that range. That would take pretty much all of that momentum, right, to get a breakout here higher or a breakout there lower. So even just from like an implied volatility perspective here, we are kind of setting up for some consolidation or like a little bit of an inside bar day. So base expectations, that's probably what happens in markets here today. And then, yeah, we'll see where it wants to go from there. But that's sort of what I'm expecting. If we can get a consistent narrative here to the downside, we should be in play. We get kind of a choppy, no scenario type environment, then we're going to have to be pretty patient and to sit on hands and not force anything stupid. So today, really all about controlling the variables I can control, not making any dumb decisions, not taking any trades that are counter system, counter rules, or like drain mental capital here disproportionately. I think it's going to be like a week that probably creates a lot of tests, right? Where I think everyone's been waiting for that separation and that enthusiasm and sort of some of that craziness. I reckon we'll get it, but we'll probably get it in the second most obvious way. So what that generally means for me, right, is we're probably going to try to shake out, exhaust some people here early doors, and then once we get that cleared and sorted out, then we'll get the sort of smooth move. So if that's the base expectation, we really need to focus, or at least when I say we, I mean me. I really want to focus on just protecting mental capital here, so that I do have basically the mental clarity to be able to execute the large move right when it does occur. So just trying to be really focused here, really disciplined, and just keep building on some of the techniques and skills that we really focused on there last week. So again, like no going down with the ship, really focusing on trusting trades when I'm in them, using my like post trade analysis, right, to maintain as much objectivity as I can, and then from there we can hopefully build it out and see what's in store. Again, I think 2 minutes before market open here on a Monday, it's really worth stressing that this is going to be a week that exaggerates the maxim that we get paid for our decisions, not our time. So the expectation of there being volatility and there being like a little bit of an increase here, it's all fine and dandy and it's exciting and it could give us a lot of opportunities. We have to make sure that we're not getting tricked by the volatility and we're just controlling the variables we can control. We're trading our system, our rules, our technique. We're not trading what we think is going to happen. We're trading our rules interpretation of what is going to happen. And that's all I'm expecting from myself here. If I do that well, I'm going to be quite successful. If I compromise those variables, probably going to get my ass kicked. So I know which version I want. I know which outcome is a lot more desirable. And yeah, hopefully we can have ourselves a little bit of joy and take advantage of whatever enthusiasm is out there for us here today. All right, minute to market open. Any questions here, team? Everyone feeling good? All right, beautiful. Let's have ourselves a day. Well, let's see how things come together here. All right, there it is. There's market open. right. Not a huge range, I would say, all things considered, kind of a small one. Again, just first 2 minutes, I'm watching for that pattern I mentioned, right? So still keep an eye on that. We've not had many opportunities of it since was noticed, but who knows? And so what you're looking for on that second candle, right, is for that second candle on the 1 min time frame to close outside of the opening range on the direction of its first breakout, right? So in this situation, it was a breakout there to the downside, and we wanted it to hold under those lows. Didn't do so. So again, right, that pattern is not in play here this morning. A little bit maybe better here on ES, but I haven't back tested this in even any context there relative. So yeah, gonna be pretty patient here, this AN team. Base expectation here today is a day of consolidation until proven otherwise, right? We're opening up in the implied middle of Friday's range. Friday was a very big, aggressive selling day with a decent amount of volume. So it's a lot of like the price is going to bash its head up against both walls, right? Or against the floor and the ceiling here a little bit. And we want to see which direction it wants to break out from first prior to being hyper aggressive. So do want to be a little bit patient here with some of these initial moves, some of these early moves, because even relative to yesterday's range or Wednesday's range, relative to Friday's range, pretty small and pretty small compared to everything we had there last week, right? So a smaller opening range than anything there last week. Not necessarily the same thing there on ES, but on NQ for sure. So again, I think important to be cautious. Still so far so slow. Yeah, so just being patient for now. Still no reason to be hyper aggressive. decent ways to go before we get to the highs. A small 3-minute range and a pretty low volume breakout here so far. Not enough volume on CL on the 3 min. Maybe on the 5 it will come together. A little bit of an interesting spot. Like, I think what we know with the pre-market conditions we basically had here this morning, we're kind of setting ourselves up for a little bit of a later in the morning trade if one does come together. You effectively need to see one move fail, right? And particularly a bullish move fail for us to get a really consistent or clean bit of price action, or at least one that matches our systematic process. I think the important thing to focus on here today, A, to not get bored, and to B, not make any decisions out of that boredom, right? So really has to be here today, deliberate and patient. And if we can get there, then we should have an opportunity. If I have to chase something or compromise something here today, I'm probably not putting myself in a good situation to protect that mental capital like we talked about at the start of the session. Can be a little bit easier said than done sometimes, but really all about not forcing a compromise here. What I think can be uh, frustrating market conditions, and maybe we're kind of in the start of them a little bit here today, is when you get large range choppy markets, right? Or big range choppy markets. Yeah, Hunter, let's walk through it, right? So first thing, what's the pre-market conditions? What does it say on my screen? Yeah, and to the downside, and what does it say underneath that? Yeah, it says no bullish, right? Bullish NA. So if we now go back to the daily time frame, right, we can see that we've got what appears to be like a trend line crack, right, on the daily time frame, really aggressive indication that bears are in control. So we don't have a bullish breakout here today, at least not until we can invalidate Friday's selling pressure. So for me, there is no current active setup, right, or anything along those lines, because it's not matching my daily market conditions or what I believe is the path of least resistance. So my trading plan here is always written down on my screen. It's kind of what I'm doing. If I don't have a bullish plan written out, I'm not going to talk myself into one, or I shouldn't be able to talk myself into one. That would then be a mistake. So what I'm looking for here today is a high volume rejection, right? Either above the opening range or like above or off of that blue line, right? On both ES and NQ. And then if I get that rejection, sweet. If I don't get a move here today, then the most likely scenario is that this is a day of formal consolidation, right? It's an inside bar. An inside bar dictates that, or effectively dictates to you that you have non-trending price action and you're just stuck inside consolidation. So our most likely outcome, right, is that consolidation. Our second most likely outcome, right, is that rejection to get that bearish trade. And then our third most likely outcome, right, is for that bullish trade to get invalidated, or sorry, to get a bullish scenario and to invalidate the bearish trade. But for us to get that move, right, for that bullish scenario, we need to move a little bit more than 1.5% here this morning, which is significantly more than the implied volatility of any enthusiasm that's out there dependent on the VIX. So from my perspective, there is no reason to place a bullish trade or to have a bullish bias here today. I'm pretty much restricted to bearish only based on what the pre-market conditions were telling. Make sense? And if it climbs here all day, guys, don't care, right? I only want to judge myself if I miss trades that follow my rules, right? I'm never going to hold it against myself that price action moves in one direction or the other if my rules are telling me that I can't trade that play. I'm not going to be able to catch every single move in the market. It's unrealistic for me to expect myself to be able to do that. So all I can do is expect myself to catch the moves that follow my system and follow my rules and to basically not create like a double jeopardy, right? If I'm holding it against myself that I followed my structure, I stuck to my process, I executed my plan, then I'm like putting myself in a can't win situation, right? Because I'm going to start to chase trades that I have an expectation where I'm not expecting to be profitable after 100 decisions to then making it more difficult for me to actually stick to my process even when things go. So the other reality, right, of trading is that nothing works 100% of the time. No set of strategies, no set of rules, no set of techniques is going to catch every single move or to be correct on every single time. I'm solving for like 70% here, right? Do my rules help me catch 70% of the moves? Do they help me remain in control? Do they help me do all these sort of things? That's the standard I'm looking to hold myself towards. If it moves without following my rules, tough shit. I'm gonna have to sit on hands and watch it. But I don't need to waste any money or drain any mental capital chasing something that isn't absolutely perfect. My reality here, right, is that I'm not one trade away from being green. I'm not one trade away from feeling rich. I'm not one trade away from being profitable. All of those things are the outcome of hundreds of good decisions, right? Of years of dedicated focus and practice. And so missing one move to the upside here today, or one move to the downside here today, or even 1 week's worth of price action is meaningless if that's the sample size that it takes for us to be successful. So, not really looking to judge myself on a day to day or even a week to week. It's all about those longer term objectives and those longer term goals. And if I, yeah, hold it against myself that I followed my rules, but I didn't get the outcome that I wanted based off of those rules, then I'm never going to survive for that long term sample size to put up that, 1,000 trade sample or that 100 trade sample. And it's really just the consistency over that long period of time that ultimately makes you a lot of money. Is it boring? Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot more boring to sit on hands and to not get trades and to do all these things. But being a profitable trader isn't exciting, right? It's actually kind of boring to be repetitive and to do the same thing over and over again. And that's why most people don't do it because they need the dopamine hit, they need the rush, they need the thrill. And generally that doesn't work, right? Again, I don't care if this thing wants to squeeze. I don't care if it wants to go up all day. All I care is that price action gives me a move based on the quality of my rules, and everything else, it's honestly means nothing. So all I'm getting here, or like when I'm looking at this price action here right now, like basically all I'm thinking about is now, hey, we're getting separation so that if I do get a rejection or I do get a breakdown or I do get a reversal, that I should be able to get a nice move here to the downside. Yeah, well, to be honest, Mr. Rice Guy, right? You probably have zero evidence that chasing in and jumping those moves actually makes you any money long term. I'm being honest, right? You probably have no evidence that impulsively trading and needing that validation from the market actually makes you any money. So if that's the case, right, and we know that deep down, then I don't know, it shouldn't be a hard choice. It's like, okay, do I want to do something that I know is going to cost me money, cost me stress, make me miserable, or do I want to just avoid that obvious mistake and buy myself time to actually do something properly? Eventually, if you're just choosing to ignore the facts in front of you, you're kind of just an asshole. Or like a self sabotaging asshole, probably is the better way of describing it. Maybe we have an opportunity here on CL. Does feel a little bit sticky. Good volume. I don't know if I like that close a ton. Rather, maybe wait it out just a little bit here. See if I can get that 5-min move. And again, my job, right, as a trader isn't to catch every single move. It isn't to be a part of every bit of price action. It's none of that. My job as a trader is to walk away with a profit. And the only way that I can do that consistently is by being systematic in my process and like removing my emotional pressure to make good trading decisions. Like when I'm impulsive as a trader, like I can make some money, right? And I can make money for maybe a week, maybe a month, right? Maybe a quarter. But eventually you refuse to accept a loss. You go all in on a position or all in on a decision, and it costs you absolutely everything. And so you end up having all this progress just get wiped out in a stupid afternoon. And then you got to start back from zero. And so then that week or that month or that year that you committed to doing it just ends up being a waste of time. And I can't think of any scenario where that sounds appealing to me. It honestly sounds miserable. So, not really interested in doing that. I'm not really interested in making this job any harder than it needs to be. And again, I have no FOMO of missing this move here to the upside because the only way I would have made money doing this is if I had broken a rule or did something that I don't have any like good evidence for. So just because I would have gotten a good outcome for a bad process, that should be an easy still. Like, yeah, no worries. Life is good. I get more than enough action, I get more than enough trades, make more than enough money based off of those decisions. This one here today, missing something counter rules. Why should one be bothered, right? That greed will kill you if you need the validation from every bit of price action. It'll kill you. Like I think what we fail to understand, I think sometimes as retail traders, is that our biggest advantage is that we can get in and out of trades effectively whenever we want, right? And that means that we can avoid all the times where price action isn't good for our strategy or good for our technique. You're like a big fund or a big bank and you've got 100 billion under management. Like how can you can't buy and sell that entire position on each trade, right? You're managing a rolling portfolio. You gotta be able to absorb the punches. We can avoid them. And that is a huge, huge, huge cheat code. So the more that we can embrace that as like an advantage, and the more that we can realize that, yeah, we get paid for our decisions, not our time, and we kind of make all those concepts like work together as one, all of a sudden now we're setting ourselves up for success, right? Now we're setting ourselves up to actually survive from a long-term perspective. I don't have to like exhaust myself chasing bullshit. And honestly, it's so hard for me to want to tolerate like impulsive trading decisions just because we're bored. Like, that's just the dumbest form of self sabotage. Like, I think in general, trying to be in a rush to make money as a trader is pretty much a surefire way to lose money and to lose a lot of it. No, it would not have worked here today, right? Because the first candle or the second candle of the day was not a clean breakout. So, no, it is not that pattern. Yeah, but don't have it back tested on ES. I haven't even looked at it on ES. It was a pattern I noticed exclusively on NQ. Again, like let's not forward project stuff because we want to talk ourselves into action. Again, still being really patient here, not seeing any reasons to be aggressive, not seeing anything that's interesting here yet. Don't care that price action is higher. Yeah, legs are good. So legs are pretty good actually. Did a really epic run yesterday. It is, oh my gosh, so nice to run in the Alpine. Oh my gosh. Maybe that's why I have this like zen approach here this morning. Yeah, I did an epic run. Something like 1,600 meters of elevation and like 34 kilometers. Pretty punchy. Oh yeah, I mean, that's why I moved to where I did actually market miner. Same thing as you. I feel like I get a lot of mental capital back by being outside. And there's something about those West Coast trees, man. They hit me hard. So Greg, I lived my place in Montreal is right at the base of Mount Royal. It's like the big park there. And like the full loop around, like around the entire border of the park was probably like 15, 16K. But I mean I still have it, but I had a place in Ontario, like a couple hour drive away. I would go there a little bit. Like I spent Christmas to I don't know, April or whatever it was. There, it was pretty nice. Okay, so we're creeping up here till 10 a.m. Feels like it's later than that. Yeah, Christ, right. Yeah, being in Montreal sometimes freaking brutal with the drivers. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, some of the roads in Montreal are some of the worst I've ever seen. I mean, just in Quebec in general, maybe. Thank you. Getting close to that breakout target. The all sticky, sticky, sticky. We're just looking for our high volume rejections here at this point, trying to take advantage of basically that extended price action. And again, still a lot of consolidation on our leading names. Few exceptions here and there, but nothing crazy. I have no idea what Renko's is. No idea, Chandler. Ah, I see. No, truth be told, pretty much exactly what you see on my screen is all I'm looking for. I'm kind of look, to be honest, there's not like one way or a perfect way. Every yeah, technique or tool or whatever has pros and cons to it, right? And it can allow you to see things maybe that something else wouldn't. And so I think from like a certain perspective, like there's survivorship bias to finding your way, right? So like I've been trading using candlesticks and volume for 13 years, just about 13 years, and I feel like as if I get all the information I need from that. For sure there's times where I don't get perfect information, but nothing does give you that. So it's just about finding your like variant or your thing and just sticking to it. Again, I'd like to see it hold under that 53 area, so on the 5 min. I know what I'm hoping for. You know, from my perspective, like I want to keep my analysis pretty simple and clean, or as easy and simple as possible, because I think that there's always a way to talk yourself into something or talk yourself out of something, and there's always a tool that tells you this or tells you that or whatever. And it's really easy to find that confirmation bias. So I want to try to avoid that like analysis paralysis as much as I can, and try to keep it smooth and clean. Now, it's not to say that you shouldn't use them or you can't use them or you can't whatever. I would recommend you use any tool that helps you notice patterns easier. But there's kind of like I don't know, there's two sides to that coin if you want, right? Certain patterns or certain tools will help you notice patterns easier, but also using the same tools consistently will also help you notice patterns easier. So there's kind of like a little bit of a combo of the two there. Okay, so CL, kind of glad we avoided it. Maybe starting to get our first signs here of some pseudo rejections or some of that exhaustion. We're not going to get to outlier volume here by the looks of it, so this might require a 2 candle confirmation. So not yet still. Only 7:05, and it feels like it's been a lot longer of a day here so far. Weird sensation. This would have been maybe like you're gonna have for 2 again. I don't know if you're missing 2 here. Let's see if we can get that nice rejection, build it up properly. Again, doesn't look like it's going to give me the confirmation I'm craving on the 3 min time frame. Very, very light on volume. So again, maybe we can maybe find this signal here, some secondary candles, but still requiring some patience. CL not moving. That looks like a disaster. But volume has dried up here significantly, maybe telling me move is stalled. And now we'd like to see, yeah, basically the other side jump in and dominate a little bit. Well, we have a setup here already, right, Hunter? So the setup is a rejection or a fake out above. Now we're looking for confirmation, right? So confirmation of that setup now either occurs on the like the fake out candle, right? So if that one happened on increasing outlier volume or on separation away from that fake out with increasing outlier volume. So we have a setup in play. Now we're looking for a appropriate confirmation standard to justify taking on that risk, which by the looks of it, we might struggle here just a little bit. But might not quite be ready for that little personality change here yet. Nope, still being really patient here, team. There's not much that I can do here yet. And again, I do not care that it's higher. Makes no difference to me, right? Yeah, so far, very low enthusiasm day here. Possibly our bullish capitulation here on crude. That's such aggressive volume to stall out. All right, one sec, team. I'll be back in a minute. All right, sorry, I just had to get another coffee. Oh, talked about potentially being that bullish capitulation here. Will we see it on one of the longer time frames? We can get on the 10. That would be very, very fascinating. Where would I? We'll figure that out. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on this CL here in a minute or so, right? That's probably the most likely at the moment. Got to turn red though. We got to see this probably close, 82, 83-ish. So 30 seconds, and it's got to close, 3 to 5 cents lower. It's not moving. Okay, good close. Really good close on CL there. So realistically, I think the target should be a green to red. Maybe like this. 86 to 08, maybe a little bit too aggressive. Whereas if I go like this, 89 to 80, that's a little bit more reasonable. We'd like to see a breakdown there. Otherwise, on a pullback, I would need to be like 66-ish, right? So on a pullback entry technique, I'd be looking reaction at that round number for a short. And that might be what's kind of more or less setting up here a little bit. All right, so getting everything set up here, risking approximately 9 cents. We'll call it 8 cents. So wouldn't be going full position sizing here. Stop loss would be, we'll call it 66.08. And I'd be looking 6 contracts here, something along those lines. Everyone understand the thesis here? Take that as a yes. So we're still looking for a little bit more of a pullback here, and then we're judging this reaction at 66, right? So I don't have to click submit here quite right away. I want to buy a discount relative to it. Too fast. Be patient. That was way too fast, right? Better. Still feels like it might fake out here. That pullback from 66 to 66.05, way too fast, right? Not the reaction you'd want. Not the feeling as if price action was stalling at that area. Could be running out of exhaustion here a little bit, so this could be starting to get a little bit interesting. Okay, much better. Now we're going to look for a pullback here. Hey guys, I am in short 66.03, 66.03, 6 contracts, stop loss just got triggered. In and out in a second there. Pretty much an instant stop loss there. Good times. down, $300 after that trade. Not the best feeling. Starting to maybe see some signs of separation away from these highs, but not on enough volume here yet. Fuck. I have this shaking feeling that it's making me laugh, I guess. But it feels like CL is going to set up again here to the downside. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like it's just inside consolidation here, right? It's exhausted and it's a big move higher, but it's still just an inside bar. It's still just consolidation. It's no indication of trending PA, believe it or not. Same thing on ES, right? So a little bit of a tough one. One of these days, we'll hopefully get some volume here. Down $300, close, 15 points away. from being green, maybe less. I almost see it as like, here's your trend line. I don't know what EMS2 is, Tony. Oh, you're just talking about this is just a June contract for ES. This is not valid. All right, we're trading the September contract now on ES and NQ, not the June. That contract is no longer tradable. And it's just the equivalent of the S&P 500, right? ESM is just the code for June. For example, September is ESU. And so it's just the S&P 500. It looks interesting because it's not tradable at the moment. So it's stuck at whatever its last previous bar was. Hey, are we seeing rejections here? It's starting to separate a little bit from 250, but I don't know if we'll get there from a volume and candle shape perspective. Might get one. Yeah, I mean, I think a big move here today is probably unlikely. Right? I think your expectation is you kind of like maybe get back towards the open or like midpoint of the day type thing. I'm not sure we've seen anything that indicates yeah, big move in play. Even 50 points might be a big ask. I mean, CL could be worth trying again here potentially as well. I mean, that could be setting up for a second attempt. I don't know how I feel about that, but sets up. I got to trade it. And then that would be stop at higher day. Okay, not enough volume, right? Wrong candle color. So lacking confirmation there. I don't know, all of a sudden it feels like I'm watching paint dry a little bit, right? Full inside bar, so we still need to get sort of better confirmation. About 40 minutes of just watching price action not move. Boring. Well, I think to say that price action is stalled here at these highs would be clearly stating the obvious here a little bit. I'm just chilling for now here, team. We'll see if something else sets up in the next 20, 30 minutes. Oh, those price actions. Oh, pathetic. There's no chance this goes outlier. So need more volume than that for sure. Like basically I need to see larger volume than like anything from 10:05 to now. I need some sort of indication of momentum. You sure? Maybe you have pre-market data on or like electronic trading hours, right? At which point it would show as outlier. But regardless, it needs to be both increasing and outlier. It's not that. $90 seconds to go. Maybe the 3-min's gonna be my best likely. Yeah, but like even if you had the electronic though, Nick, right? We got to make sure it's increasing then outlier volume. It just being outlier is not enough. First standard is it has to be increasing relative to previous bar. If it's increasing relative to previous bar, then the next standard is it outlier or not? You have a chance. Hmm. Thinking this through just a little bit. Not fully convinced by the volume, which is why I'm being patient and quiet. Probably. Um, which one? Be a 225 stop. And all I'm doing here, guys, is I'm just watching the reaction inside this risk reward zone. I don't have my order entry set up here. I don't have a reference price in mind. I'm just watching, right? So things look interesting, but they also don't not behaving as if they're ready. They're behaving as if they're ready to chop me out. Not necessarily ready for that reversal. So we're trying to buy time here to take the information the market is giving us, see if it's good or not effectively, and then go from there. I'd say for now, it's kind of looking like it's just choppy, right? No real indication that we have one side in control here or not, and might just have to be happy with a $300 down day. Lower low here, lower high. It's not terrible. See how this volume goes. Be increasing, which I don't like. Yeah, I'd say no chance there. Does seem at least though as if the volume is starting to return a little bit with some enthusiasm here, right? Like this should be the largest volume bar we've had in a while. Question is, can it just pair up right with a good signal? Again, this maybe is our chance here for that rejection. Give me a strong close. Okay, for sure. Like that's a very good looking candle. And we're looking at something like this here for now. Stop loss 221. So stop 221 here. Oh, it's gonna be tough. 23,221. And we're looking potentially out like 2 contracts here. And just wait, too fast again. So this might want to be a fake out, breakout type thing. Too fast. Okay, now stop has to be 25. And now 31. Okay, so I'm watching here. I'm in, guys. 221 on the dot. 221 on the dot. Short. 2 contracts. Well, that's kind of a scummy trade, I'll be honest. I'm sorry. Okay, let's see if this thing can break down here. Okay, let's see if this thing can keep cracking here. Let's see if this thing can keep cracking. Yeah, this was, I mean, pretty much an instant follow through, right? So kind of a little bit, like I said, a little bit scummy from that perspective. It dropped 5-10 points instantly, right? So I'm sorry about that, team. If you miss the entry, wait it out, right? Give yourself another chance to potentially jump back in. If it's strong, it'll give us another reaction. Good volume. I don't like that it bounced off of 900, or sorry, off of 200. A little bit of a concern. Not the strongest 3-min candle post entry. It's kind of, I'm kind of thinking a little bit of closing this and resetting on the 5. A little part of me that wants to do that. I have a good entry though. I don't know if I want to fuck with that too much. Okay, so on the 5-min, right? For those of you who missed it, it is setting back up. Now, same thing, just rewatch how it pulls back into that entry zone. You know, on that first trade, right? It kind of gave us that fake out, then breakdown. Just be a little bit aware of that, right? So we kind of had, you know, the deja vu to this here. So now see if it gets rejected at this point, right? And then you can look to break it down. Okay, so your stop would be 212, right? 212. And your reference price would be 200. Oh, guys, stop trying to refresh the P&L spreadsheet midday. Fuck off. So watch here, right? Watch here. Yeah, I mean, this I think would be the appropriate entry spot here on the 5, right? So I think that would have been your entry, this kind of most recent reaction here. So if you didn't get it on the 3 min, there was your chance right there. We want to see this thing start to crack under 200. Otherwise, right, that's not a good feeling. And guys, if a trade is strong, right, it'll always set up again. Albeit this one not maybe behaving how I would like so far on the second leg. A little bit here. It looks like it might just be a little bit of a shake and fake for you guys. That's unlucky. Now you'd be resetting stop loss 215, same reentry. Uh, I'm still in my original trade here, right? Based off that 3 min time frame. It's not looking super fantastic. Right, it's not exactly telling me that I have the enthusiasm that I'm looking for. Hmm. Don't like how long this is taking. Crack. Annoying. Okay, so here it's starting to go. Here it's starting to go. Oh man, really unlucky for those of you who got shaken out on the 5. Sorry about that, team. Well, this pullback's far from ideal. I think I have to get out of this in general here now. See if I can get a decent exit. Fuck. Okay, so I'm looking for my exit here, team. I am looking for my exit here. Hate that little retest. That feels like shit. Nice work, Kiki. That's awesome. Good job. And so this candle's giving me my exit signal, right? Yeah, I should have gotten that exit that Kiki got. That's a great one. Let's go. Nice work. Bit of a challenging day for execution, I think. Come on. Trying to get as close to 200 as I can, guys. Trying to get as close to 200 as I can. I'm talking. If you can't hear me, just refresh your Discord. Oh, guys, same shit every day. Okay, someone needs to. This is driving me fucking insane, guys. With the PNL tracking, someone needs to stop requesting it in the middle of the trading day. You're not going to get access to it to be able to edit it. Fuck off. I'm not going to give you editor permissions in the middle of the trading day to screw up my entire journal. Come on, guys. Stop. Okay, watching here, right? Watching here. Come on. Flush, flush, flush. You're so close. One big pop. This can be it, guys. Can be it. Okay, I am out. Exit price 196.25. 196.25 exit price. All out 196.25. No complaints about that, guys. No complaints. So $990 there on that trade. A little over $600 on the day. And you know what? Just about bottom ticked that. Just about bottom ticked it. Yeah, first trade was minus 300. So, what was your entry price on that last trade? How many contracts? Because with 2 contracts, you needed a 10-point move to be green on the day. So either you screwed up your position sizing, right? You screwed up your entry, or you screwed up your take profit. But all you needed here today was a 10-point move to be green. So something must be off, right? For you to still be red. Your entry price was 207.75. And that was on the 3-min thesis. My entry price was 221. So if you clicked when I said I was in, you did not, right? You wouldn't have had a 15-point difference in your entry. Because my entry is right here. My reference price was drawn out right here. Like I don't understand how there could be such a divergence there besides the fact that you're just waiting and chasing my entry. No chance you're going to make any money doing that long term. I'm sorry. No, like Patrick, I'm not talking to you and I'm not talking to Jamie. I understand your guys' trades. I understand why you guys got stopped out. I'm not dealing with that right now. I'm trying to comprehend why chasing an entry 15 points worse, getting a smaller move, and increasing your position sizing was a good decision. I can't comprehend that. What do you mean you think you looked at the wrong thing? Like, what does that mean? Sorry, but that's unexcusable. All right, guys, any other questions? Yeah, I really don't understand how that's possible. Let's go, Charles. Good job. And yeah, guys, we need to stop trying to refresh this PNL tracker intraday. I will not give anyone here editor permission to screw up my trading journal. So whoever is doing that honestly needs to stop. It is ridiculous. I'm not going to let you to change this. Nice. Fantastic. Jared, I don't know what you're doing asking for editing access. I will not give that to you. Crazy. All right, guys. Any other questions here? All right, and have yourselves a great day, team. See a few of you in our one-on-ones here later this afternoon. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for what should hopefully be a less boring day. Take on a boring trading session. So out of here before all my mental capital drains. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.